Okay, so 26% of the way there. Yesterday we saw some progress with you solving 2 algorithms, which is pretty good. I was pretty impressed. So today,
That's not easy to do.
Today, let me close this. Today, we're going to continue on by go and review what you worked on, which I believe is the jQuery section. Did you do anything else?
No, because I was super slow at this new thing.
That's fine.
It was frustrating because I was getting a bunch of little things wrong, and it was frustrating.
Okay, we're not going to worry about this section. DOM manipulation's a little bit. They kind of... Codecademy does this weird thing where they teach you a few of the basics, and then they throw you into jQuery, which isn't cool at all.
No, I was like, I just, just got introduced to everything. Why the fuck? I was freaking out. I was like, oh my god, am I supposed to know this stuff? Like, how do you get all this stuff, and then how do you get here? I didn't understand how I was like here, and now I'm like here, and I'm like, I don't know.
So we'll go over a whole section about
Crying on the inside.
DOM manipulation and all that sort of stuff, but I don't think we're quite there yet to... right, I want you to get comfortable with the logic end of JavaScript, and to do that, I think we're going to do another algorithm to start the day off after a little bit of review.
Okay.
And I think once we get done with a few more algorithms, I'm going to leave you to try and solve them on your own. No.
Well, I'll tell you when I can figure them out on my own.
Well, you did great yesterday. So, is this live? Yes, it's always live. April Learns to Code is a 100-day challenge, coding challenge, where we are in day 26. It's all documented. There's a playlist and all that. You get to see the good, the bad, and the ugly of the 1 hour we spend together or so. And
I'm not kidding about the good, the bad, and the ugly.
And then
Jesus, this thing is like right in my face.
You turn it on low if you want.
Why I gotta always put it in front of me?
Just happens to be on that side. Anyhow, so today, would you like us to go into DOM manipulation, or you want to hold off on that?
Honestly, I don't feel like I'm ready, just simply because I feel like I don't have a handle on what we've been doing. So to ask me, oh, let's go use what you really don't know in this really complicated document to make websites, which is like really cool, but at the same time it's like, what?
Okay.
So, to be honest, I would like to have a complete understanding. Like, I'd like to be able to just like pass the test on everything that I need to know in order to start working with web pages, so that at least when I get there, I'm like, oh yeah, okay, that makes sense. Oh, okay, yeah, I see how I can link that. Okay, like I want to be able to be like that when I get to that point, not where I get there and I'm like, I'm crying on the inside and then I've hit a mental wall where it's just like.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are going to do another algorithm after we do some review right now. So I think that's a good place to start, so we can review the basics. All right. So what is a variable?
I'd rather just jump into the algorithms. I hate review.
Milo, what are you doing?
I don't know why.
Oh, there's a spider. Ooh, kill the spider.
What?
On the door.
That's not a spider.
That's a spider.
That's one of those weird ass fucking flies that they have here in Florida that looks just fucking bizarre as all fuck. Like, I don't know what their problem is.
All right. So what are you trying to teach today? So we are doing some review, and then we're jumping into more algorithms. All right, baby. So variables, what are they? And go ahead and...
Thank you, Nick. Yeah, it's like 7 o'clock to p.m. and it's still daylight.
I can't even believe it's just 7. All right, baby. So...
What is a function?
No, a variable. Start with basics.
We got our variable, and then we got our... This is a keyword.
Okay, you just have to say it. This is supposed to be quick. You don't need to write this stuff out.
Writing is really good, though.
You don't need to write keyword. You know
Okay.
keyword.
And then you have the title,
Yeah, the name, yes.
and then you have the value.
Okay. So give me an example.
Okay.
Okay, and there's no space between that, right?
No.
Okay. Alright, cool. So that's our variable. Now, what are the variable types?
String, object, number. Array. Boolean.
Good. So, can you give us...
Profanity.
I don't know. Can you give us an example of a for loop?
An example of for loop?
Yeah, just write a for loop out. Undefined and not a number isn't necessarily a type, is it? Undefined is a type. Actually, type, it's not a type, it's undefined. Alright, so for loop example.
Okay, I forget.
Okay, so 3 parts, right?
Yeah, you say that, but nothing's clicking on the
Incrementer, statement, iterator, statement, incrementer.
This doesn't mean anything to me. I don't have anything associated with those words.
Where we start, when we end, how we increase for each loop. Okay, so we initialize our iterator. I is for iterator normally, right? So we initialize I. Depending on what we want to do, we'll initialize it at 1, or initialize it at 0, or some number.
So do I need var here?
Yes. And
So var my coin
oh,
equals I.
no.
Yeah.
Let me give you an example here. So a for loop, why do we use for loops?
To assess our code.
Huh?
To assess the code.
Not to assess the code. We run a for loop to run certain code several times. For loops are to repeat our code. Okay?
Okay. For loop is to repeat code.
So the first thing we have is our incrementer, or iterator, which we initialize to a value. In this case,
Okay. We gotta write this down because this you saying it doesn't mean anything to me. What is it?
iterator. Iterator standing for iteration. Each time we're going through our for loop is a single iteration. Alright, the next we have our statement. So if I said I wanted this code to run 5 times and we're going to increase our loop by 1 every time, how might we write that? Not less than or equal to. So what
We
happens?
said it 5 times. It's gonna run 5.
So we start at 0, runs 1 time. So it runs 0, runs 1, runs 2, runs 3, runs 4. Okay, that's one way of doing it. Usually less than is kind of the standard way. It doesn't matter though, it's the same thing. As long as you understand what's going on. Oh, less than 5. Because now it only runs, how many times does it run when it's less than 4?
3.
Okay. I++, and we end it. And then we have our brackets to declare where our scope is running. So iteration 1, what is the value of I?
0.
Iteration 2, what is the value of I?
1.
Good. And it keeps increasing by 1 because of our incrementer. Now, what's the point of if statements? Why don't you give us an example if statement? Do I work in Upwork freelance? No, I'm a full-time salaried developer. Although I've been thinking about picking up freelance work. Upwork tends to be more low-end. Someone knock on the door?
No, it was my hand.
Oh. Okay, so var my coin is
No,
No.
that's not right.
no. You don't initialize your variables in here. And you're not initializing, you're just creating. So there seems to be a disconnect in you not remembering how to set a variable up is very concerning. Because that's like the first thing.
I know.
Okay,
I know. That's why I'm struggling with this. I don't know. That's why I was telling you when we were talking that I'm struggling with remembering these things. So I don't know if I need flashcards, which I want to try and do to see if maybe that'll help.
well, you don't understand the logic. We have something and it stores a value. In order for us to access the value, it needs to have a name, right? In order for the computer to know it's a variable, it has to have a keyword, in this case var. In order for it to assign a variable, we have to use the equal sign. So in here, we're evaluating a statement. The less than was good, but this side wasn't anything. It was just mumbo jumbo. So why don't you create a variable and use it in the if statement? What are you doing, Milo? What are you doing? You king of the castle? Alright, so tell me what's going on before we move forward. Oh, hey buddy. Tell me what's going on with this line of code. What's actually happening?
This keyword is holding the value of my coin.
Well, no.
Is holding the. What is this?
So my coin, this is saying, hey, we're creating a variable, its name is my coin, and we're assigning it an initial value of 2. So what is my coin is nothing more. It's kind of like if I were to say, what is your first name? It's April. So my coin is the equivalent of that. Does that make more sense? What is your age? My age, being a value, would be 29.
29.
Yes. We are assigning, because of the equal sign, that is equal to 2. that you, Merle? Is that you? Merlulis? Merlulis? Is that you? Huh? Merle? Alright, okay. So, in our if statement, what's the point of an if statement?
To assess the statement.
Okay, and why would we do that?
To get a true or false.
And why? So that's what's happening. Why would we do it?
I don't know.
Well,
It depends on what you're trying to achieve, I suppose.
Exactly. So if it's true, we want it to do something, and sometimes if it's false, we want it to do something, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So write a statement in which this using my coin is true. Is this a true statement?
No.
Okay. So make it, the task was to make a true statement using my coin. Good. Now, what's the point of an else if statement?
To run if the if statement is false.
Good. And what's the point of an else statement?
To run a statement if everything else turns false.
Good. So now that we've done a review, I'm going to actually I'll write one more. So we have an array. We have an array called myArray. One, 3, and 5. So what I want you to do is write a for loop that adds all the values of my array together. No.
I know it's my array dot length, and then I take the length.
Three parts every single time for a for loop. First part is creating a variable that's going to help us iterate through the for loop. No. So the goal here is to check every value and then add them all together. Do you understand that?
Yes, I understand that.
How do we access a value in an array?
With an index.
Okay. So what is index 1?
0.
What
1.
is
3, it's 1.
Alright, so
And 5 is 2.
good. Now we start at a certain number. This is what we're going to be using to keep track of I. I is somehow going to be used in our for loop to access our array. Thank you, Bitcode. The big code $2 donation says one for me and one for you, baby.
Take your bit code. I'll take his.
Mine? You've been taking a lot more than $1 this whole time. Oh, you don't like that statement? Alright, I'm just kidding.
It doesn't bother me.
Alright, so, anyhow.
You should be used to it. Well, you don't like that statement? I'm sorry.
Alright, so I want you to iterate through this whole thing and not one more and not one less. How would we write our statement knowing that we're going to use I to help us keep track for that? Good. Now, in our for loop, I want you to add all of them together. So, how do we keep track of things?
Store it in a value.
Good. A variable.
A variable. Right?
So that's a string. We're keeping track of numbers. So what might be a normal place to initialize a total value? Where is a number neither negative nor positive? Good. Now how do we, using total in our for loop, access the values of my array and then add them to my total? That returns the value. First thing we need to do, now we may want to return it at a later date, but within our for loop, that's all we care about right now. Within our for loop, how do we add to my total each one of these values? Okay, so what is the value of my array? Okay, so what is the value of my array.length?
0, 1, 2.
No.
Or 3.
Okay, so what is this saying right here?
My total equals 3.
My total, you said plus equals.
So it equals 4.
No. My total is equal to my total plus my array.length. Now I'm telling you I want you to add each one of these values together. How does this logically make sense? Now it would work in terms of it adds. Is it what we're trying to get?
Probably not, since you're telling me that.
Well, what is the value of this? It's 3, right?
Yeah.
Wait. Alright, slow down. This is nothing.
Knew I would write it down.
Okay.
And if I knew the terms that I was looking for, I would know how to respond to your questions.
Okay. Well, how do we target this 5? Let's erase what you have right here so far. if I say I want to get this 5, how do I get it? Forget about this. How would I just write it? How would I get my array? Send 5 right there.
My array 0, 1, 2.
All right, so my array 2. Now knowing this, knowing that we can get an index value, piece by piece by piece, and we're gonna run this loop for how many times? 3, the length of the array. How might we take my total plus equals using my array to get the value out of it?
By accessing age index.
Okay, now how can we do that dynamically with the information we have here? We know it's going to run 3 times. We know that this keeps track of a number. We know that this adds to a number. So how do we target our indexes? Good. All right. Seem familiar? You did this all yesterday.
I know!
Alright, so what's the plus equals mean again?
I don't know.
It means that my total is equal to my total plus this number. So maybe for the future, start writing equals. Do you understand why we have to add my total?
To store it.
Exactly. Otherwise, what would happen is if we got rid of the plus equals and it was just equals, our last value would just
Be our last value.
exactly, and it'd keep overriding it. Good. So that was our review. We're gonna jump into. It's all right.
Progress.
Some days it sticks a little hard, better than most. So we're gonna do the next algorithm. All right. So now we're gonna go free code camp. And using everything Nick, at the end of this, in about 20 minutes, I'll be happy to answer any of your questions for $9.99 a minute. No,
Holy shit.
no, just hang out for a little bit, man. All right, so factorializing a number. Now, to factorialize a number, what that means is that if I give you the number 5, we then multiply 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1, or 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5 to that number.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, so
I was like, factorialize sounds familiar.
yes. The only instance in which that's different is if that number is 0, in which case it returns 1. So,
Or 2 meows.
yeah. So knowing that, knowing that I want. Look at this guy. Daddy can't play right now.
You caught it, baby. You're so brave.
What a good boy. Daddy play with you later. Alright, so. Alright. So, knowing that.
The cats are strong.
Alright, so. Achilles.
Break. Play with the kitties.
Alright, we're gonna do this algorithm.
Yes.
You have all the skills necessary to solve this.
Yes, I know.
what we want to do is we want to return the value of that factorial. Now you see right here, they've set up some of it. They've created a function called factorialize. Now what's the point of a function again? Okay, I'll remind you. The point of a function is so that you can call that code to run again and again and again.
God damn it.
Alright, and so the way that we set up a function is we define the keyword function, we name it, and sometimes we pass in these parameters, which are values that get passed in this case 5. So if we were to run this right now, what number would it return? Return 5, right?
Yeah,
and then this is
you're calling it, and num is the parameter.
Num has the value of 5.
And it's giving you the 5 as a parameter.
Correct. Well, technically it's an argument here. You're passing in the argument into the parameter.
Oh, okay.
All right.
You're arguing that that parameter is 5.
That's one way of looking at it, I suppose. I don't know that you're making an I don't know that you're arguing, but maybe that's how they came to that.
It sounds like it, because if you're in a debate, you would be arguing your function.
Okay.
So you're in a debate with your code.
So we know that if a number is 0, it needs to return 1. And we also know that we need to count from 1 on. If it's greater than 1, we need to multiply by each one increasing. So 1 goes to 2, 2 goes to 3, so on and so forth. So
you know what's the worst part about this? Is we've done this one.
we didn't finish it.
No, I think we did.
Okay. Well, how do you think we get started?
Okay, so what are we doing? Okay. What are we doing? Where's the instructions?
We're returning a factorial. So look at this. This is the 5 that we're passing in. What we want to get back is the 120, which is 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times that.
Right, but we don't know how many times it needs to run in order to get where it needs to go.
We do. It's every number between 1 and that number.
1 on what number?
The parameter. 5 in this case, right? How many things is this?
So we need to start it from 1.
Okay, what are we starting? Are we starting an if statement, a variable, a for loop? What are we starting?
A for loop.
Okay. And what is going in our for loop?
A variable.
Okay. And what are we... Now, there's 3 parts. The iterator.
Yeah, so var I.
And what are we setting it at?
Is it good practice to start at 0 or 1, or is there no...
It depends on what the logic is.
Oh.
In this case, what would we start it at?
Well, probably 1.
Okay. Now, what is our statement? Our statement is going to be used to keep track of how many times we need to...
Is less than num.
What is less than num?
I is less than num. Gesundheit. That's the end of that.
Okay.
What's that called? What is that? That's the
The incrementer.
the incrementer. Now on to
And what are we doing for the incrementer?
plus plus.
Good.
We're gonna add 1 to it.
All right. Okay. So, stop reading chat. What do we do now?
We have to put in our our for loop. We're gonna have to store this number
Okay, how do we store numbers? How do we store things?
in a variable
Where are we storing it?
above all that.
Where?
Oh no, inside of it, because you always put it on top, but we are supposed to put it inside
Inside of what?
of the function.
Inside the for loop, inside the function, below the for loop.
Inside the function.
So you're saying right here or right here? Right here or right here? Or right here?
No.
Here?
It's one of the top two. I think it's that one.
Now why let's not think. Let's not think. I mean we should think, but let's not guess. Okay, so why would we store our variable? And let's initialize our variable. How are we gonna initialize our variable?
My total.
So we're gonna call my total, and what are we gonna set it to?
0.
Okay.
We're gonna put it in the function because that's part of the return number. That it's gonna be part of, like, that's the function's job to give you
My total.
my total.
Yeah, and if we initialized it outside, if we were ever to call this function again, because it was in the global scope, it would already have a value, and we'd just be adding to my total. The reason we set it in the function is because
it
resets the value.
So that it can be reused because it's a function.
Exactly. Now, knowing about scope, why do we, and our blocks and everything, same thing, right? Why do we have it outside the for loop and not in the for loop?
Why don't we have my total in the for loop?
Yes.
Because the for loop isn't providing the total; it's providing the factorialization.
Okay.
Not the answer you wanted.
But my total is going to keep track of that, right?
Yes. So it's storing the value that the for loop is providing when it runs each iteration.
So why don't we put that, though? Why don't we initialize?
Because it won't be called when you ask for the function. It'll be inside the for loop.
Yeah, and it will keep getting reset every iteration. Do you get that?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So, knowing that, what are we doing in our for loop?
So, kind of like what we just did. So it's gonna be my total plus equals, or you can put my total equals my total, but let's just do plus equals.
Alright, plus equals.
It's shorter, which is better. My total plus equals num. Oh, crap, we're not accessing an array. This is different.
That's right.
Damn it. Oh, okay. So, trying to get the factorialization. So.
Now, what is I in this instance? The first iteration. What is I?
It's 1.
Second iteration.
2.
Third iteration.
3.
Fourth iteration.
4.
Fifth iteration.
5.
And what do we need to do every iteration?
Add it. Times it. Oh. So it's gonna be I times num.
No, because that would be 1 times 2, 1 times 5, 2 times 5, 3 times 5, 4 times 5.
Okay. Okay.
And why is plus equals wrong here? Are we doing any adding?
Nope. It's gonna be multiple equals.
Okay, so what is that? Times equals?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Times equals. How do I put the I and the num in there?
Okay, so look at our example here. 1 times 2 times 3 times 4 times 5, and then we return. In this case, what are we returning?
120.
So this 120 is my total. Each one of these is an iteration. Each iteration of the for loop. So the question becomes, how do we execute that?
Yeah. I knew that.
Well, look at the pattern. So I've talked to you before about pattern recognition. And so what's repeating here? The multiplication process. And you handled that, right? That's the times.
I thought I'm trying to figure out how to get the I in there multiple times.
Okay. So what's the difference between this number and this number?
1.
What's the difference between this number and this number?
I plus 1.
So each one of these is an iteration, and each one of these increases by 1. What happens every single time our for loop? We start with var I is equal to 1. We run as long as it's less than num. So how might we use I to get the correct value in this instance?
Yeah. Baby, I know. This is what I just said to you like twice now. I'm trying to figure that out.
All right, so what's the value of I on the first iteration?
1.
What's the value of I on the second iteration? What's the value of I on the third iteration?
3.
What's the value of I on the fourth iteration?
4.
All right.
What up?
And what's the value of I on the fifth iteration? Which it doesn't run, actually. So our logic's wrong in our for loop.
Yeah, it's gotta be 0.
Well, no, it's gotta be. Is 4 less than
equal.
5?
It's gotta be equal.
Yeah. Good. And so in the fifth iteration, my Lord Jesus. All right.
It's very stressful.
Sorry, buddy. So each one of these is increasing. Let me write this to help you out, because I think you're getting confused by the my total times. All right. So we know that's exactly what we had before.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to give you a hint, because this my total equal to 0 is going to make it not work. So imagine that my total is equal to 1. That's what that needs to be in this case. What do we times this by? We know that first iteration, my total is times by 1. Second iteration, my total is times by 2.
It's times by I plus plus.
Times by that?
Yeah.
Why would that be that?
Because it's wrong. Because I was being stupid.
All right.
Damn it!
So does I increase?
It's by I! It's just I!
Good.
God damn it!
Because
Ah!
I increases every iteration. Remember?
Yes! Good!
Okay, and what do we want to return? Do we want to return num, which is our parameter?
No, you want to return my total.
My total, good. Now, when we run this, we're not going to pass all our tests. So that shouldn't have happened. Actually, that does work out. So I was going to say we were going to have to create an if statement. Because of 0.
Oh, you brought
But we've written our
What is
logic
that?
here.
What did you bring? I brought something. Is that fuzz? Did you bring fuzz? Yeah?
Almost done, buddy.
You brought fuzz.
Okay, so the reason it's not I plus plus is because this increases it by 1 every iteration.
Yeah. So that, I know that. And I was like, I plus plus, because I was like, oh, it's going to add to the I, so you want the I to be in there. And that was why I said I plus plus, not like, so yeah.
Good. Now, close your eyes for a second, because we are going to do a quick one real quick. Alright, cool. So, here's the Fahrenheit one from yesterday. I just want you to do this one real quick. So, remember Fahrenheit. We want to return Fahrenheit here. And I'll start. And we want to...
I feel like if I was doing... Sorry. Hold on. I won't respond to the chat. Go ahead.
So that... Achilles. So let's do this algorithm you did yesterday real quick. So we're taking the Celsius parameter and we want to convert it into Fahrenheit. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
It tells us right here that the way to convert Celsius to Fahrenheit is to multiply it by 9.5 and add 32.
Mm-hmm.
How do we do that? Hey, how do we do it?
Okay, well, we want to take Celsius.
Okay.
Maybe, I don't know. Hold on a second. Yeah, so you're given variable Celsius. Use the variable for
So, oh,
algorithm
we
to
don't.
convert.
So they started us off. Sorry. Fahrenheit. So we want to return Fahrenheit, which is a variable to store the value. Now, we're taking in Celsius, which is 30, and we now need to perform the logic to return it in its correct numerical value.
Right, so it has to be the parameter. So Celsius, new line.
Okay.
Celsius. Nope, Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit what?
Man, yesterday was so much better than today.
Hey, don't worry, baby.
I understood everything yesterday. Where the fuck did it go?
It's all, look, it takes practice. So you're making progress though, alright? So
I know that I'm using 9 times 5 plus 32 at the end of a Celsius, which is...
So say that now. Say that now. How would we communicate that?
Right.
We know we want to return the Fahrenheit value and we're going to store something in the Fahrenheit variable.
So variable Fahrenheit equals...
Okay? Now what's the formula, the algorithm, if you will, to return that? We know that we're passing in the Celsius parameter.
Yeah.
So how do we, with what we're given here, do that?
Okay, function.
Now read this to yourself aloud. That might help you. Read the instructions.
The algorithm to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit is the temperature in Celsius times 9 divided by 5 plus 32. The algorithm to convert from Celsius to Fahrenheit is the temperature in Celsius. I see it. Yesterday I was like, oh yeah, I get that. Today I'm like, what the fuck?
So the temperature in Celsius, where might we get that?
From our argument.
Okay. Now what do we do with that?
We put it into our code, our iteration part.
Our Or we put it into the function,
block.
yes.
We put it into the block.
Now where do we put it?
There.
Okay.
So Celsius times 9 divided by 5. That's 32.
Good. So what's going on here? We're calling a function.
Yeah, so we're saying, look, in the function, it's saying, hey, convert TOF what you called down there, and the parameter is Celsius. So the argument we're giving this parameter is 30. Then inside the function, we have a variable, which is Fahrenheit. So it's saying that the Fahrenheit, this is what this equals to if we're giving it Celsius. So Celsius is then entered, which is the argument 30, times 9 divided by 5 plus 32. Then we return Fahrenheit because that's what Fahrenheit is equal to when you put in your argument.
Good. Good job. Don't worry, you had an aha moment yesterday. It'll continue. Progress is being made. Alright. Alright, guys, so that was today's coding.
Fiasco.
Sounds like she might be a little bit frustrated.
If you're frustrated doing this, imagine every day of the rest of your life. You know what? I imagine for the rest of my life that about halfway I'll be frustrated and hate and misery in life, and then the next half I'll be so fucking happy that I decided to be frustrated because I'll be actually making money. Doing something that I worked my ass off to learn.
Yeah,
and know that the money that I'm making, I earned.
a little combative there, but that's okay.
Sorry.
So, the reason I went back and reviewed that, similar to review, is because we're going to continue doing these algorithms, and we're going to continue doing the review. And the
Thank you, John.
the only way for it to really kick in is just to dive into it and do it until it seems like, why are we doing this? This is so easy. It's a repetitive thing. Once it becomes a repetitive thing for you, it will be.
Enjoyable.
You understand it.
When I can fully write out a function, like I write out a sentence, I'll be like, yay!
And it's a practice thing as well as a reprogramming of the mind. And so I think so you finished the Codecademy course, which is good. And what I would like you to do, let's assign you some homework.
Well, I thought I would do the book.
You want to do the book?
Yeah, it's all JS.
You'd rather do the book instead of interactive tutorials.
I don't know what's interactive tutorials.
What you've been doing. What you've been doing with Codecademy and Free Code Game.
There's interactive tutorials with the book.
Okay, let's do that then. That's good. So.
Because Godless Monkey is the jam.
So the idea is one step forward every day.
Yeah. So the chapters are pretty light. So I'm hoping to get anywhere between 1 and 2 chapters done, and if I can get 3 done, I'd be ecstatic.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So start with the book then, and we'll continue hacking away at these algorithms. And because you really have to start thinking these and start using them. We've talked about what they do, That's the review every day. We're talking about what they do and how to use them. Now you have to use them and start pulling that information. Because the only way you're going to retain it is if you use it. Just like learning Spanish. I can tell you what this word means. Let's start using it.
Hola, ¿cómo estás?
That's about all you're going to be able to do.
Yeah. That's it. How's the new job? It's really good. The funny part is the IT guy is being passive aggressive with me. Because I replaced his favorite person in the company, which I think was like a pseudo mom for him, so. But. Oh, I probably shouldn't have said that, huh?
You shouldn't talk about your work.
Anyways, can't talk about work. Sorry. Trying to be professional here. I forget.
So moving forward, we're in day 26. I'm not sure when we should dive into DOM manipulation because you still don't. Where's the pseudocode? We've all been writing pseudocode to kind of do it.
No, Espanol.
I'm not quite sure how to get you there. Is the goal to get her to complete the free Code Camp front-end certificate? Yes. Do I believe we are on track to do that? No. That is too big of a gamble. I would like her to have been there, but that is too much. I think we can. I think that at the end of the 30 days or 100 days rather, she might be able to do the first 4 basic front end projects, or maybe even the intermediate ones with my help. Right now, we need to focus on JavaScript and continue hammering in the fundamentals, the basics, and once that happens, we can move on to the projects and start working with DOM manipulation. But all that's going to be so confusing if she can't set up a for loop or still is messing up variables. We need to kind of hammer in the basics. So that's what we're doing, and part of that is she'll be doing the book, and we'll be doing the free code camp algorithms as well to get her to use them. Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say. That's the game plan. You're gonna try and do a chapter or 2 a day.
I'm hoping 3. I'm hoping I can do 3.
Okay. Anything you want to say before we get out of here, baby?
Thank you for all the support. Thank you for letting me know that I'm normal. And just thank you for being here. And as always, code long and prosper.
Facebook group and Patreon. Bye.